All right. Well, hello. So
Hello.
wonderful to see you.
You too. You too.
Um, so like I said, I'm just gonna start if you would like to talk about when your journey started and who it was with. Sadly, we have the same person.
Yeah. I think it's important to explain who she was to me. She was entrusted to me when her mom passed away at 50 from breast cancer. And mom said, watch over my children. And at that time, she was 19 and her brother was 22. 23. And I said, of course. So from that moment forward, I always watched out for her and spent time and was there for, I think, every important um, life cycle event, including the birth of her son. She gave me the honor of letting me stay in the room when she gave birth. Uh, she became ill with breast cancer. And unfortunately, unbeknownst to us, that with she just suddenly passed away. It was shocking because we knew that her life probably wasn't going to be a normal length of time, but this was literally it will happen within 4 days. She went in the hospital on a Friday and died on Monday. And we were all under the impression that all the chemo and everything she was doing okay. Um, so that was the end of August. And that's when the grief journey began. For me, it was no different than if someone loses a child, because that's basically what she was to me. She was the daughter I didn't have. And it was terrible. I mean, it was shocking and hard to wrap your head around. I mean, I'm grateful that a few weeks before, when she was not doing really well, and I said to her, do you want me to come? Because she would never say, Georgene, come. She would just, I would say, Steph, do you want me to come? And she would say yes. So she said yes, and I hopped on a plane and I went, and we spent a wonderful week together making good memories, new memories. And, you know, 3 weeks later, she was gone. So it was, I think the mind just sometimes doesn't let you absorb something of that nature. And she was, young, 34. Um, so that's how it started. And it continues.
Yeah. Um, sorry. When, sorry, I remember being there when Steph's mom died.
Yep. Yep.
And it was very, we were 18, 19
You,
years old.
you were 19. You guys were freshmen.
Yeah.
Freshmen at Villa
No,
Julia.
it was our sophomore year.
Sophomore, but I know
so
you guys were 19.
It was our first, it was our fall semester of our sophomore year.
Yep.
I remember that was a rough year for us because her mom died in September and then, or August.
August,
yeah. And then like right before school started.
Yep.
And then Zach was in the picture, and then his grandfather passed in December, and then my cousin passed in April.
I remember that too.
Horrible year for us.
Yeah. I think for me with her mom, we knew it was coming. She had been diagnosed, and then she had a year or two of remission, not long. But for me, this was different because nobody was saying that, you know, death was imminent and that, things were going bad. I mean, everything, in my opinion, went south literally in a week.
She texted me on that Tuesday, and we didn't talk all the time, but she was still my person. We were still like, you know, best
Very
friends.
connected.
Yeah. And she texted me saying, "Me and the kids are watching High School Musical and made me think of you. I miss you." And so we messaged back and forth a little bit. She told me about the Bell's palsy,
Right.
and she asked me how I was. My phone was losing its battery. I was like, "Oh, I'll text her when I get home." And I completely forgot. And that was Tuesday. And then I remember texting her on Nora's birthday, wishing Nora happy birthday and saying, "I'm so sorry I haven't texted you back." Like, I completely lost track of time. And I was like, that's so weird that she hasn't texted me back. And then I get the phone call from Jen on Monday. Remember, I was at the pool with the kids I was babysitting for, and I was like, what did I just hear?
Yeah, that's so I honestly can't say what's worse. They're just different, with obviously for me with Steph, because she was so young and um it was just so sudden and shocking. Like I couldn't I couldn't wrap my head around it. If you asked me anything about the funeral other than talking to you, I couldn't tell you a thing other
Yeah.
than it was pouring rain like cats and dogs.
Yeah, that was not a good time.
No, no. And yet somehow with her mom's funeral, I remember more details, but I couldn't tell you one single detail about Steph's, not one. But I will say this, that in this process, I've learned some things. I've learned that it's not something for me that I was able to handle by myself. So, as we were saying before, I did start seeing a therapist because I felt personality changes,
Yeah.
in the way that, oh, what do you want to go out? It's the cat who wants to go into the house. And that was something that for me was so weird
Yeah, because you're
that,
so like energetic and like so bubbly, and you're so,
and
happy.
I was so not any of that.
Yeah.
And that was when, and I was just, I felt like I was just lost, sad and lost, and everything was an effort. And all I kept saying to people is, I'm not myself, I'm not myself. And I finally just said, okay, I don't even know what is normal. I've never, you lose parents and it's one thing. And it's sort of more of a normal process. But to lose a sibling or a daughter or a son, it's so not the way that you expect things to be. So I think your brain just doesn't process things.
Yeah.
So I started to see a therapist, and he gave me some great, great tips, and said to me, a lot of people are going to say, you'll get over it, you'll get past it, it'll be better. And he said, and none of that is true. What
Well, I'm glad he
will
said that.
happen? Yeah. Oh yeah. He said, none of that is true. You don't ever get over something like this or get past it. What you begin to be able to do, he said, is live with it
Yeah.
and compartmentalize it, so that, and this was the big thing for me, so that you don't think about it every minute of every day.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, that's what was happening. I just I couldn't think of anything else. And at least now, that's true. I don't think of it every minute of every day. He had sent me a handout. I think I had forwarded
Yeah, you
on
did
to
send it.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were some really, good pieces of advice, taking care of yourself and eating right and getting some exercise and just, processing things the
Mhm.
best way you can. And he said it's something you learn to put on the shelf so that you can go ahead and live your life. And he said, and for no apparent reason, he said you could be sitting there one day reading a book and something will trigger.
I'm going to read you a quote or an analogy, I guess, that someone had sent to me. And it's very, it goes along with what you just said. And sorry, it was in a few messages above. Okay. So it says that grief is like a book on the bookcase that is your life. During some seasons, it's a book you might pull out every single day and turn through some of the pages. In time, you might not pull it out much at all, but it will always be there on your bookcase.
And that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel about it. And the other thing for me that's really difficult is the kids.
Yeah.
So the children are 5 and 9, and I don't know what the right thing to do. Do we talk about her? Do we not? Do I ask them? Do I not? I try to call and keep in touch, but she was the glue, that kept us all together. And when she would call and, put the kids on and say, talk to Georgene, and they did. And it's more difficult now because I don't know what the right thing is.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, difficult to figure out. So it's kind of like sometimes I feel like a salmon swimming upstream, and
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
Nora
But
and my sister share the same birthday.
oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was difficult because the weekend that Steph was in the hospital was Nora's birthday, and so Zach was trying to keep things as normal as he could at that point, and he was trying to do a birthday party for Nora, and Steph was in the hospital, and it was just
Yeah, I was supposed to come up that weekend for the birthday, but it was my sister's birthday, so
yeah. So yeah, it's been 4 months, and I know, or 5 months. Yeah, 5 months, and
well, it's coming on 5 months, right? At the end of
the end of this month is 5 months, and I just feel like it happened yesterday. It's still, the months went by, but I am able to put it on that shelf some days. And then, something like I saw, so funny. I saw a monarch butterfly the other day, and there were on a lot of butterflies, and Steph loved butterflies. And I just found myself saying, hi, Steph, did you come to see me? That's so nice.
yeah,
You know,
we do that
and
with
that
my
made
sister
me,
too.
yeah, it kind of just makes you feel better. And there are certain people I find that I can talk about it all the time, and people that really know me well, and know my relationship with her, understand completely how devastating this was. Because the people that don't know me that well, when you say, I would call her my niece, but really the people that knew me best know that she was way more than that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of sometimes hard to explain that.
And I
Like,
don't think you should have to.
I agree. Grief is grief, and no matter what your relationship with that person, how you feel is how it's just that. It's how you
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I'm grateful I decided to go see someone to help me through it, because I wasn't able to figure out, what do I do with this? Like, I just don't know. I've never experienced anything like it in my life.
Yeah.
And like you had said, unless you have, there's nothing that anyone can do or say for you that changes it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things the therapist said is, don't be angry when people say what they say. They
I
really
know, but it's
just,
so hard to not.
it is hard. I find
Hard to-
myself, if one more person said to me, I'm so sorry, I was going to scream. Don't be sorry. It doesn't change a thing.
Yeah.
And again, I'm very fortunate because I live in a place where people are very kind. And so people were wonderful about making donations and bringing over food. And even though, again, she wasn't my blood, but I used to say, I don't know if I can say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I used to say to her, I couldn't love you anymore if you came out of my own, what? And she'd be like, "What?" But that's kind of how, and so you just, there's no, and even in talking to her brother, we would do for the first few months, how are you? Oh, I'm okay. How are you? Oh, I'm okay. And I'll be like, not really. And he goes, no, neither am I. And I had to say to him too, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We're changed forever, and we're not okay. We will eventually get to hopefully that point where it isn't, again, where you're not thinking about it every minute of it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, for me, my personal goal, where if I can get through one day and have a day where I'm not sad, like, that's a really good day.
Yeah.
And that's where I hope it will be. So that's my story. And I know that's your story and
With
worse.
and with Stephanie, it hasn't really fully hit me yet because I don't live there. So I don't know. When everything happened with my sister, I was like, "Oh, I have to call Stephanie and tell her what happened." And I was like, I can't. I was like, I can't believe I have to call her and tell what happened. Like, I can't believe what just like it was just like boom, 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 boom. I was like, how am I gonna go to Maryland now and not go to her house? That's the house I would stay at.
Yep.
I was like, this,
And I feel the same way. It's like I don't know how I feel about going back to the house,
yeah,
because I'm not sure that's something I can do. I know that I will never be able to stay there again without her there. But I know that, for me, I mean, there's still a huge network of people.
yeah.
Um, and we've got a wedding to go down to in May
Oh, who's getting married?
from Samantha.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that will be the first time we'll all be together since the funeral. And so bittersweet,
Yeah.
you know, but they are some of also, they get it completely.
Mhm.
And so there won't have to be any
Pretending.
explanations about
Yeah.
anything. Yeah. And the other thing that my little brain has decided it would like to do, and I'm going to include you and her friend Kate and all the gals, is I will have a Zoom with all of us with some wine and some, something. And I think the funeral was so hard for all of us that we all have some great, funny Stephanie stories. I mean, there's just so many of them. And that's who she was. You know, she was that funny girl that made you laugh all the time. And that for me is what I want us to do. I want us to drink some wine or have a beer, eat some pizza, and just everyone tell funny stories, because the funeral was just so awful in terms of not being able to. I mean, for me, I couldn't even get 3 words out, and there was no way I was going to say anything. And so I think that there are things that people do want to say. And I think in a more intimate setting for us, we can have a celebration of her life, because she was one in a million. She
Yeah.
really was. And she made me laugh. And for me, the hardest time, believe it or not, it's like 10 o'clock at night when her kids were in bed and Zach was in bed and it was quiet here. And that was our time. Many nights where we would talk, or sometimes she'd be crafting on her Cricut and I'd be crafting on mine. And, she was very, very good with all of that stuff. And so those times for me, like sometimes I'll go to pick up the phone and say, oh, I could talk to Steph. So that's
Yeah.
tough. Those nights are harder, I think, than any time.
Yeah, 'cause your
So
mind's like trying to shut down, but it's like not, it's nonstop.
yeah,
Sleep is a lost thing in this household, so I'm sure.
yeah, I wouldn't.
Not what
And
you can
how
do.
about your siblings? How are they doing?
Um, so we're all dealing with the same thing, but we're all dealing with it differently and kind of separately.
Yeah,
We all have our own way of dealing with it. My youngest is just having a super, super hard time because her and Susie were like best friends.
yeah,
She's having a rough time. It's just the house just isn't the same.
yeah. I can't. And like you said, I mean, with me living here in Florida and her there is that separation that made it different for me. But I can't imagine, what it's like with that dinner table time, or, family going somewhere time, and that's got to be really rough.
Yeah. And with Stephanie, I haven't seen her since the surprise party that Zach threw for her
Okay.
because the next year COVID hit, so no one was going anywhere.
Oh, right.
So I haven't seen her close in 2 years.
Yeah. See, I was able to go up for different things, and we went, obviously not this past summer, the year before, we went away for a week together. I know that Zach wasn't that thrilled, but she put her mind to it, and that was the end of that. It was going to happen. And I went up a couple of times because there were different procedures and things going on. And so I was lucky. I did. And then, like I said, I went up in, I think it was May or June. And because she really wasn't feeling great. And so I was glad that I didn't do the, well, I'll wait.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not the only person on the planet that's taken 14 COVID tests in the last 2 years.
I'm sure. Yeah. But that's like when I remember when she told me that she was diagnosed with cancer, she texted me, she's like, "Are you sitting down?" And I was like, "No, but I will." I was like, "What's the matter?" And I think she told me on like a Wednesday or Thursday, and I was in Maryland that weekend.
Yeah. So part of the struggle that I have with all of this is that she was diagnosed, I think it was April. And actually, Eric and I were going on our first vacation to Europe. And, it's funny how things work out. We've never flown through BWI going to Europe or back. And coming home, we were flying through BWI, and she was going in for the surgery a week later. And I don't know if it's guilt or I'm just angry, because the plan was she was going to do prophylactically that summer a hysterectomy, and the following summer a double mastectomy.
Yeah.
And we had talked about it, and she and Zach had talked about it, and kind of that was the plan. And when she called and said, I found a lump, and I thought, no, 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 no. We got this. We thought we were ahead of the problem,
Yeah.
and we weren't. And I think that also was so devastating for me that, here we had this plan and thought we were ahead of the curve. And I guess, that was not how it played. But and it's funny because coming back, like I said, we went on vacation, we came home, we flew through BWI, and I got off the plane at BWI so I could go and be with her the week before the surgery and then be there after. And she was also one of the toughest, bravest people I know. It's a very hard surgery, very hard recovery. And she didn't do a lot of complaining. She didn't do a lot of why me. She, once in a while, she would be upset or sad or worried about the kids, but she just, I don't know. She just wasn't that way. And neither was her mom.
Yeah.
Lori was also very brave and very strong. And I think one of the hardest things that I remember Steph saying, though, was at some point Nora asked Stephanie if she was going to get cancer too. And knowing that her grandmother, had it, and her mom had it. And fortunately, she was able to say, well, we did everything to assure that you wouldn't. So that was really, really good. It's exhausting. It really is. Just, I said to somebody, and I've never been this tired in my life. And there are days when I have to lay down and have a nap. I know I'm old.
Emotionally, mentally draining.
And I think when you don't expect it, because like you said, your mind doesn't always shut down and sort of relax. So I think that I know, even like if I'm watching television or I'm trying to read, like I haven't been able to read a book in 5 months. I just can't. And I'm an avid reader.
Yeah.
Have not been able to read a book. Can't get my concentration there. But hopefully, those things will come back.
Mm-hmm.
So, but hopefully I'll get to see you when we do our Zoom. We'll get everybody will get. Yeah, I just like I said, I there were some things I think for me I need to do, because there were things I wanted to say and couldn't. And I want to remember the fun and the good and the laughs. And like I said, there were so many of us that just feel that same way, and we didn't get the opportunity to share that. And so that was one of the things I had said to the therapist is, what do you think? Is this something that you think I mean, I know for me, it'll be a good thing.
Yeah.
And he said, if you think it's a good thing, then just go with it, do it. And those that want to, be included and that think it's a good thing, they'll be included.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I decided that probably next month I will
Okay.
do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my story.
Well, she was the
Um,
best.
Yep, I was lucky to have her and that her mom, I used to say to myself, why did Lori want me to watch over her? You know, her two other friends were closer there in Maryland. And one day, not too long ago, I realized, wait a minute, I'm the only one that didn't have a daughter. And I said, that's why. And I think also because from the time Stephanie was little, she and I just were good.
Yeah.
We had a good relationship, um, and I feel very sad though too for my son who doesn't have a lot of cousins, and this was really really hard for him, um, and he really is not dealing with his grief. Um, and right after she passed away, he had his engagement party
Yeah.
that following weekend. Uh, and Steph not being there, of course, was very difficult. But they did a nice little tribute. They had her picture and a little, thing, and that was sweet, really sweet.
And you guys are so like, I've been around for like 16 years, 17 years.
Yep,
And from the moment I met everybody, I was like part of the family.
absolutely.
And my mom even said when we're, on our way home, she's like, everybody knew who you were. I was like,
Well,
I've
you've been
been here a long
around.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, when Steph went to school, and I remember coming up to the school, and and you would come over to the house. I mean, Chrissy was always there. She's just Chrissy, part of the family. It's true,
Yeah.
and that's how they all took me in because remember, I lived on Long Island, and Lori moved back to Maryland with her mom and her two brothers. We had only known each other like a year, and we
I
were
didn't
two
know
kids.
that. Wow.
Lori was 19 and I was 22 when we met on Long Island. And they were living on Long Island for 1 year in the same apartment complex that we lived. And we met
Wow.
doing laundry. And we just started talking and hit it off. And somehow it was meant to be. And it truly became a lifelong friendship. And they would come to New York and we would go to Maryland. And of course, then, when Raymond was born, that was like, I mean, Aunt Lori did anything for Raymond. And, so that's really how I knew them. I mean, I knew Lori, she was a young girl, and I was a
I didn't know
newlywed.
you guys only knew each other for a year before. Wow.
Yep, yep. And then they moved back to Maryland.
That is
So, yeah. I
definitely.
remember when she met John. I remember when they got married, all of that I was there for all of it. So it was really a lifelong friendship. And then when she asked me to watch out for her children, I was like, well, of course.
Yeah.
And Stephanie was, my girl. She was my girl. So we'll have some good laughs and some good Steph stories. Start thinking of some good Steph stories.
One of my favorite it's not a story, but one of my favorite things is when my cousin was in the hospital for 9 months after he had his bone marrow transplant. And I would come up probably like every weekend to go into the city to donate platelets for him. And one weekend he wasn't doing that great. And I said, oh, I'm going to go home this weekend to go donate. She's like, oh, I'm going to come with you. She came with me. She drove up. We went to the city. She donated platelets for him with me without even being asked. She did it on her own. We finished. We couldn't go upstairs because he was in the ICU, and then we left. And I was like, that's a special friend.
She was very much like her mom. she was a caregiver, and I used to when it's funny when I would go there at the beginning, when she and Zach first got married, and she would, say, well, what do you want? What can we get? Like, what kind of things? And then, of course, after going, so often, like I knew I would go, she would have half and half for me, my coffee, whatever it is I needed. Like she didn't even have to ask anymore. But that's who she was. And
Yeah.
there was never any question, if we wanted to go to Friendly Farms, that was like one of our favorite places, the one with the ducks, the family style restaurant.
I don't.
It was out in the country, who knows where, like an
No,
hour
we never
away.
went there.
Oh, never went to Friendly Farms. Well, so
No,
one
our
of her
places
moms,
were Tony Roma,
uh,
Red Robin.
a Red Robin was
There
one
all
of,
the
yeah,
time.
that was, so Friendly Farms is this family style restaurant out in, I don't even know what town. And we started going there when Raymond was little, and Lori and John and the kids and Eric and I and Raymond, and it's like just this really different kind of place, and they had the most amazing fried chicken. But the big thing was the ducks. The ducks are running around on the property, and so the kids would always want to feed the ducks. So we went there for years. And then, of course, when Steph got married and having her own children, we would go. A lot of times when I would come into town, and we would always try and figure out a way, to go. And sometimes it's hard because it's an hour away when the kids were little.
Yeah,
But that was like a big place for
that's
us,
funny.
Friendly Farms. Yeah. Yeah. So we would do that. So she'd be like, do you want to go to Friendly Farms? Do you think we can go? And I said, I don't know, you're the one that has the job and has kids and that, we want to go. But she would always, we always did fun things. And that's, I have the video, which I'll show when we all get together, of the vacation we went in Virginia last summer. And the two of us are on tubes in coming down the hill, and I'm screaming my brains out not because I was so scared. I was a little scared, but because the tube had a rubber bottom and it's on like a rubber track, so it gets hot.
Well,
So
that means
my backside was hot. So I'm screaming, and the two of us are hysterical laughing. And
that's
she
funny.
had somehow was videoing us. And that was one of the things I had put on Facebook right after she passed away.
Oh,
Because
that's funny. I have to look at that video. Hold on one second. I'm gonna pause. Hold on one second.
Sure, I could save your
Yeah, she's
part.
been. Yeah.
It's funny how weird things happen. We adopted two little kittens at the beginning of the summer. And this is after 5 or almost 6 years of my husband saying, I don't want pets, I don't want pets, I don't want pets, no more pets. And so I was fostering them. And they were two American bobtails. So one has no tail and the other has a
Oh,
little stubby tail, but they were cute as could be. And when they got to be, I don't know, 3.5 months, was time for them to get adopted. So, we had fostered them for about 6 weeks. And all of a sudden, my husband said, well, what if they're two brothers? He said, what if they don't get adopted together? Or what if nobody wants the orange one because he has no tail? Or what if? And I said, Eric, we don't have any control over that. So he finally said, I think we need to keep them.
oh,
And which was
a blessing
a
in disguise.
godsend. Yep. They were amazing. And I don't think I realized how much pets are important during the grief process.
Yeah.
And they can sense when something is wrong and you need that extra TLC. And they have been, I said to somebody, I don't know what I would have done these last few months without them.
We have a dog and he knows the first few weeks, months, maybe up to 2 months, he would, because Susie would always be the last one to come into the house from work. So he would sit on the couch and wait at the door, watch the door, waiting for her to come home.
Oh, see,
He would look so sad.
they do, they know, they sense. I was shocked, I really was, because when we came home after being in New York for 2 weeks, and we came home and they were just like follow me from room to room, and when I would, lay down or take a nap or sit in a chair, and one of them would crawl in my lap and just want to be with me.
Yeah, they're
And
the best.
yeah, they really are. So that's my story.
Well, thank you for sharing about the most wonderful person.
It's good. It's good to talk about her, and I'll miss her every day of my life. There's no question, but I try and remember how blessed I really was that she was in my life for the years she was, and that her mom entrusted her to me. If she hadn't, I don't know if we would have had the same relationship. But I'm grateful. I am grateful for it. I really am. So, and I'll let you know as soon as I pick a date for our
Okay.
little get together or our Zoom. I may have to get some help with the Zoom part of it. Okay.
Well, you have a lot of us to help.
Good. I need it. I'm pretty technical, but not with that. All right,
No
honey.
problem. All
It was
right.
good to speak with you, and thank you for including me.
Thank you for participating.
My pleasure.
All
Good
right, we'll talk
night.
soon.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.